Welcome to Meet Me Halfway. I'm Jordan Griffith. He is Austin McNorton. Once again, we are so happy to be with you guys. Thank you for listening. This show means everything to us. Thank you guys for being with us. We have a great show for you as always. We got NBA, NFL, MLB. We're going to talk about Bryce Harper. We're going to talk about, once again, we're going to go with the AFC, NFC South win predictions for Vegas. Jam-packed show. Stick with us. We even added a new kind of segment. If you interact with our social media, you'll know what we're talking about. But first, Austin, say hello to the people.
What's going on, people? How you doing? How's ATL?
ATL is fantastic. The weather's beautiful. When you texted me, said you were ready, I was just laying outside getting a tan because, good Lord, do I need one? I'm as white as my computer screen right now, and I'm on a Word document, so that kind of tells you something. So, NFL win predictions. Austin, this is something we've been doing for a couple shows now. We are now moving on to the AFC and NFC South. Some say maybe one and two most competitive divisions in the NFL this year. So we're going to start it off with the Colts. Made the playoffs last year as a wild card. Texans ended up taking the AFC South crown. The Colts are projected to win 9.5 games this season. The under for them the over. I'll go with the over first. Over is minus 140. And then the under is plus 120. So once again, if you guys have not been listening before, if you bet the over, that means, you have to bet $140 to win 100. And if you bet the under, you have to bet $100 to win 120. And then they won 10 games last season. Once again, projected at 9.5 this season.
This is going to be interesting because these two divisions play each other in this this season. So there's going to be some interesting games, but especially when you're looking at terms of the AFC South, they also have to take on the AFC West, which, as we all know, is one of the toughest divisions, with probably two of the best teams in the AFC in that same division, and the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. So when you look at it, Colts have some tough games. I mean, they open up the season in Los Angeles facing the Chargers. So, I mean, there's a potential playoff game that we could see down the road in game one. But when you're talking about the Colts as a whole, I think this is a team that has a potential to be an AFC Championship team, as we all know. I think they're probably 1, 2, 3 best three teams in the AFC. Chiefs themselves and the New England Patriots, obviously, because you can't bet against them. So when looking at it, I would probably take the over on this team. I'm confident that Andrew Luck is going to be healthy again. I mean, that's a tough bet, especially his track record. But I think they added some good pieces. I think they're focusing on the offensive line and protecting him. As we know, we saw them with Quentin Nelson last year. And I think they added some good pieces on their defense. I think this is one of the best defensive teams in the AFC. So I like the Colts to take the over on this one.
Strangely enough, I've been talking very high on the Colts. But what you were just talking about, where you're just alluding to, they play some of the toughest divisions of football this year. They have a very tough schedule. Also have to factor in, they had a horrific start at the beginning of the season. I believe 1-4, 1-5, and they won, I think, nine straight games. That 9-game win streak is not happening again. That's something that
very tough.
That's something that does not ever happen in back-to-back seasons unless you're the Patriots. So I'm going to take the under on this, and I might even have them out of the playoffs.
Wow.
Now, that does not say anything about what I think of the Colts. I think they are probably the most intelligently run organizations in football. Chris Ballard is a genius. Jim Irsay, we could talk, okay, whatever. But Jim Irsay, Frank Reich, one of the best coaches in football already. I'm not sure if they can replicate what they had last year. They got a lot of good players in the draft, no great players, but that always turns out to be a better one, quantity over quality sometimes. Rocky Sin was a great pick, for example. I'm gonna take I'm taking under 9.5. One, because of the line right there, plus 120. I think minus 140 is a little bit too high for me to go over. I just don't see this as a 10-win season for them. I'm going with the under.
So you don't have a team in this division?
No, I don't. I actually have another team winning this division. It's not the one you're probably thinking of. But I do not have them win this division. We'll talk about playoffs here probably in a few weeks once it gets closer to preseason or maybe even the regular season. But they might be in the playoffs for me. If they are, they're a wild card. I actually don't think they win this division this year. Okay, moving on. We're going to go with the we'll skip around a little bit. Let's go with the Tennessee Titans down here at the bottom. They are projected to win 8 games this season. They won 9 last year. The over is plus 110 and the under is minus 130.
So
now keep in mind, Jeffrey Simmons, their first round pick, will probably not be available until around the playoff time, and they got AJ Brown in the second round as well.
Yeah, based on the line is what makes this kind of intriguing to me.
It does.
Because I mean, I would lean towards the under, because of the line, I'm not so sure what Vegas is thinking. That I think that's probably them thinking that it'll definitely be under, but I'm not sure if it'll definitely be under.
Well, I can tell you with the lines, what Vegas is thinking is that they are about 8 wins, and the minus 130 means everyone's betting on the under right now. So everyone's telling you to go with the under. So for me, sorry to interrupt you, but for me, I'm going to go with the over solely because of the line.
That's what I'm thinking, solely because of what the line. That's the I was like, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but because of where the lines are at, I'm in the same boat as you.
Right, exactly. But I'm pushing. I think they're in exactly an 8-8 team at the same time. So we're kind of in the same boat with that one.
Yeah.
I also think this is the year that they realize Marcus Mariota isn't the guy. I think Mike Vrabel's officially over him. I don't know what evidence anyone can have to support the fact that he's a franchise quarterback.
You think they would go get another Oregon guy and blanket on his name?
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert. They'd have to trade up. They have to give up quite a bit to go up there because they're not going to be a horrendous 2-win team. Top 5 picks because their defense is too good. They have too many good players up front. They have good wide receiver core. I've never believed in Marcus Mariota outside of his first 2 years. I always judge a guy off into his third year. His third year, he's regressed. He's gotten worse every single year, in my opinion. He's too conservative. I think it's time to move on from Mariota, and he's too hurt. You can't have a quarterback that's too hurt. That's just something you can't have. Okay, moving on to the Houston Texans. 8.5 wins. This one's also very intriguing. 8.5 wins. They're projected. They won 11 last season. The over is plus 120, and the under is minus 140. So once again, it's kind of that situation where this line is telling you a lot, but it's tough. This is probably the toughest one.
This is a very tough one. So I'm going to look at really their schedule. I think they have some really tough opponents this season. Having to play New England for one, and then the remaining of the NFC South and the Saints. Then you have the Chargers, the Chiefs. I think it's going to be really tough for this team to go over that mark of 8.5. I think probably 7 is what I would lean towards with this team. I don't believe they can get 9 wins. Their schedule is just too tough.
Wow. Okay. I tend to agree with you on that. Even with Vegas trying to tempt us with the over,
they are.
Yeah. They're trying to tempt us there.
Like 120. Look at that.
Yeah, but I'm going to take the under, even with the odds or with the line right there. First of all, I don't believe, even with the addition of Titus Howard in the draft, that's a guy that wasn't, from what I've been seeing, wasn't exactly NFL ready-made in day one. So,
because we talked about that going through the draft, that you and I didn't think they are going to protect Deshaun Watson enough, which is what they have to do, and I don't think they're going to be able to.
Now, maybe some of their late-round additions end up becoming better players than we expect, but I'm not going to bet on that. Also, the loss of Tyrann Mathieu, and from what Tyrann Mathieu was saying as soon as he signed with the Chiefs, that those Texans players, when they were in the playoffs, they did not want to see the best. They did not want to play the best teams. They wanted to play the worst teams. And Tyrann Mathieu's not like that. So that tells me that this team sort of lacks competitive spirit. And that falls under O'Brien, the head coach, and Deshaun Watson, criticizing his offensive line in that playoff game, doing the first down after getting every first down when you're down like 30 points to a division rival in the playoffs. I never understood that. I still love Deshaun Watson, though. There's too many holes on this team right now for me to go with 9 wins. So I'm going to go with under 8.5 there. I'm not buying the Texans this year. Also, once again, same thing with the Colts. They had this unbelievable win streak that is not going to happen again. You're not going to win 7, 8, 9 games in a row. It doesn't happen back-to-back seasons.
Especially with the schedule they have this season.
Exactly. So, hey, you got a 2-win win streak. Oh, crap. Now you're going to Arrowhead. Oh, no, now you're going to Gillette. You're going to play the Patriots. Jesus Christ. Now we got 2-2. It's just happened that. So I'm not buying the Texans this year. So I think we agree on that one. Okay, and finally, in the AFC South, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are projected to win 8 games this season. The over is plus 110. The under is minus 130. And they won 5 games last season.
So the question, obviously, with this team is, does Nick Foles make them 3 games better than they were last season?
Right.
And I got to be honest, I think he does. I mean, I think that's what the whole problem last year was they did not believe in Blake Bortles. Right. They thought, and it affected their defense too, because they're like, oh, well, here we go out again. And they give up a score, and you're like, well, that might be it, because we don't have faith in this guy to go and score and get us back the lead or get us a tie and put us in a position to win. They didn't have that guy. And obviously, from everything that we saw from the Eagles, for 1, him winning the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl MVP, and then 2, last season, apparently he's a great teammate. Apparently, everyone on the Eagles believed in him and liked him more in the locker room than maybe even Carson Wentz. They liked him there. They believed in him. They wanted him.
They played hard for him, which is the most important part.
And the Jaguars got him. So I think he does make them better than get him 3 more wins. And I'm going to take the over and say maybe 9 wins this year. I think the Jaguars wanted a quarterback to say, look, our defense is still good. We still have talent, but we don't have an offense to help us. Now we do. Now we can go and be that potential AFC championship team we were just 2 years ago. So I'm going to take the over on Jacksonville.
Right. I also will take the over. I think this is one of the best bets in Vegas right now. This is my division winner. Now, I've been buying on the Jaguars for a few seasons last year, or a few seasons now. Last year, obviously a 5-win season. But the problem was with the Jaguars was exactly what you were saying. So that is, on paper, them and the Cowboys probably have the most talented defenses in the NFL, on paper. They did not play like it. They were on the field way too much last season.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, they gave up. They know for a fact, they said, okay, well, we're going to be on the field for, a freaking 1,000 minutes of this game because Blake Bortles is gonna throw 3 incompletions. Leonard Fournette's going to run straight into the offensive line, and he's going to fall down, and we're just not going to get anywhere. That's not the case anymore because he brings this juice to the organization that says, I'm a Super Bowl MVP. Exactly. Guys like to play with me. I am a great teammate that I've shown with the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe my coach is not, Doug Peterson is much better than Doug Marrone. Just because they're both named Doug doesn't mean they're exactly the same. So obviously his performance might not actually be as great as it was in Philly, but that's not exactly what you need him to do. Because when they went to the AFC Championship game, Bortles wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire either. So they just need that competitive spirit back to say, okay, we're always in these games. It's a mental thing for this team. You cannot question the talent. Plus, Josh Allen getting in the first round, he falls in number 7 somehow. They get another pass rusher. Telvin Smith's taking the year off for some reason. That's unexplained, really. You get Nick Foles and Juwan Taylor to bolster that offensive line. Maybe they believe in Leonard Fournette still. I'm hoping so. I believe in Leonard Fournette. Maybe he has a breakout season once again. But I'm buying high on the Jaguars. I'm saying 11 wins this season.
Wow,
big time expectations. That's right. And you know what?
How far do you go in the playoffs?
Probably just first or second round. I mean, I'm not really sure. Matchups are everything. I got to see the team first before I can really assess that. But a lot of people are going to call me crazy for that because Nick Foles has struggled everywhere he's been except for Philadelphia. But I'm just saying it's really a mental thing to where they can say
what he showed at Philadelphia was so impressive.
Right.
I mean, what he did, and I can't stand Philadelphia, and I'm saying that what he did was impressive.
Yeah.
So it's real if I'm saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, moving on to the NFC South. The Saints at 10.5 wins. Over for them is -110, and the under is -110 as well, so that's an even bet. They won 13 games last season.
I mean, I'll take the over on this one because the line is the same either way, and I think they win this division because for one, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Cam Newton. I think everyone in Atlanta likes Matt Ryan. But I don't know how much other than him and Julio. And then the Buccaneers, who I know, just know. It's just every year I think I have hope for them, and then they don't do anything, so then I don't. So I think the Saints kind of run away with this division maybe. So I'll take the over.
Okay, with it being an even bet, I'm going to take the under for them. Once again, 13 wins is very tough to replicate.
Little Atlanta homerism there, sir?
Yeah, they're actually they are called the Aints here, not the Saints. Okay. They're called the Aints down here.
There you go.
You can call me biased. When we get to the Falcons, I'm buying on the Falcons. I like what they did in the offseason. But going back to the Saints, 13 wins, once again, is hard to replicate. I don't want to be the guy who just throws out a hot take, but toward the end of the season, it is undeniable Drew Brees looked washed. He was done by the end of that season. His arm was a noodle. He could not throw the ball 25 yards with any accuracy or power. It was quite frankly embarrassing to watch him throw the ball in that playoff game. His arm was dead. Obviously, that happens with age, but that's probably the first time we've seen that happen from Drew Brees. And do you remember the last person who we said toward the end of the season, we're like, oh man, that arm kind of started to bleed a little bit, or is that going to carry over to the next season? It was Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
And it carried over into the next season. I'm not 100% in Drew Brees this year. I think this might be the year that he crashes. I know that's a bold statement because obviously, he's 40 years old already. So what's Father Time going to do to him? But I'm telling you, this is around the age where he showed all the signs of dead arm. And I know they have Teddy Bridgewater right behind him, but they're not going to have the audacity to start Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Brees just because of performance issues. I'm going way under on the Saints this year. I think a lot of their offense is going to be vanished when Drew Brees cannot put the ball wherever he wants. Michael Thomas is a pure possession wide receiver. He's not a deep threat whatsoever. 90%, if you watch the Saints games, 90% of his routes were going across the field and just waiting for the defense to make a mistake. And when you have a guy that can't get the ball there right now, like Drew Brees has been able to, those routes are gone.
So a lot of the betting is Drew Brees not being himself.
Drew Brees, correct. I'm buying maybe 9 wins this season for the Saints. Okay. I'm very concerned with Drew Brees. So okay, moving on to this division, by the way, might have just the most wild cards. I believe. I think there's just all of these teams. Well, considering my take with Drew Brees, I honestly could go either way. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. It depends on this and then that.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of things.
Right. So the Panthers projected to win 8 games this season. The over is +100. The under is -120, and they won 7 games last season.
What are your thoughts on the Panthers? Let me get your thoughts first.
Okay, so
what's going to happen with Cam Newton? That's my biggest thing.
Right. Well, let's talk. Let's talk about Cam Newton. So last season, they had that horrific losing streak. Now, I usually would say what I've been saying before this: the winning streaks, that's not going to happen again, right? The losing streaks can't happen again because your leader of the team is a guy that can allow it to happen. Cam Newton has had this reputation to where he's a good leader, but he's not a great leader. To where he's not a guy that can get us out of these big slumps. When he used at the beginning of his career, he would sit on the bench with a towel over his head, isolation. I don't think he does that anymore, but Now you also have the massive shoulder injury laying on top of that. Now, if you watch Cam Newton toward the end of the season before they took him off and put him on the IR, he couldn't throw the ball at all. His elongated motion was all of a sudden short. He couldn't get any velocity on it, and we all know he has one of the strongest arms in football. I'm not believing in the Panthers this season. I think they're going to rely too much on McCaffrey. Now, if McCaffrey, if he gets a busted wheel, their offense is shot. They don't have a chance.
He's a big part of their offense, especially without Cam Newton, because he's the big part of their offense even with Cam Newton.
Yeah, even with Cam Newton. He was the best way I can compare. I love Christian McCaffrey. He's one of my favorite running backs because he's everything. He's just like, best way I can compare him. Just like what Jamal Charles used to be to the Chiefs. When Andy Reid first got there, he's the entire offense. He's going to catch almost 100 passes. He's one of the first guys to get 100 passes and 1,000 rushing yards in the same year. I just think they're going to rely on him too much because I'm not sure about Cam Newton's health. He's been going vegan. He's been doing abstinence in the offseason to try and get some juice back, literally and figuratively. I don't know what's happening. I guess I'm selling on the Panthers even with that line at minus 120. The line is really distorts everything here because you have no clue what's going on with Cam Newton.
Yeah, so I'll take the same thing because I think it's just way too big of a question mark. And if you're going to solely rely on Christian McCaffrey, that's going to be tough. I mean, who knows? I mean, defensively, how strong is Carolina really going to be? And if they're solely relying on Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to lean towards the under because if Cam Newton's not 100%, what else do they have? I mean, who even is their backup quarterback?
Well, it's I think Taylor Heinicke still. Let me look.
Yeah, I see. I don't, and so
at the end of the season last year as well. So, but also Greg Olsen is a guy on, or now it's Will Grier, which is actually a good pickup.
Okay, yeah, that's
not about that. Will Grier is a guy I think can start, but Devin Funchess is gone. Greg Olsen. This might be his last year because he has so many injuries.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to buy on the Panthers, especially with that just a bad losing streak like they had last season. It's hard to climb out of those.
And a big question mark going into this season.
Big question mark just for Cam Newton. And even when Cam Newton's healthy, he's not exactly the greatest quarterback in the NFL. He's still a question mark even when he's playing and when he's healthy.
He might even be the third best quarterback in his division.
He is.
Yeah.
It's the sad part. So I'm buying low on the Panthers. And another factor is if they have another 7-win season, Ron Rivera's gone. That's the cold hard truth of it because you have a guy that a lot of people, the Panthers, they're a small market. They love their quarterback in Cam Newton. They defend him till they die, till they're blue in the face. Ron Rivera's probably gone if they have another bad 8-8, 7-9 season. Okay, moving on to maybe the biggest wild card in the NFL right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 6.5 wins is what they're projected. Plus 100 for the over and minus 120 for the under. And they won 5 games last season. Once again, 6.5 for this season.
Every year I seem to have some faith in Tampa Bay, but I really don't this year. I don't really know what else much to say, except I don't think 7 wins is where they're going to be this year. So I'm going to take the under.
I'll actually go the other way with the line. It's kind of they're both
true. The line, that's true.
They're both low numbers, so it's not exactly a huge bet either way, like a 190 would be, but I'll take the over. I think 7 wins is probably their ceiling this season because Bruce Arians is now in there. That is a man. And that's a guy that might, if there's any hope for James Winston, which there's not, he is the hope. Okay. Now, James Winston is immature, bad decision making. He's the only guy that I've ever seen that came in year 1, and in year 4 or 5, he has worse decision making than he did in year 1. So I'm not buying the Buccaneers, but I am buying more than 6.5. I think they get 7 wins. I think Bruce Arians himself is worth 2 extra wins. That's the only reason. So I'm going with over for that with the line, maybe getting a little more money, plus 100. Okay, staying with the NFL, we got 2 more stories just yesterday. Very intriguing storyline with the New York Jets. They are truly an NFL executive.
Did we do the Falcons? Did we do the over on the Falcons?
Yeah, Falcons. That's right. We forgot about them. I skipped them for some reason.
I'll let you take this one because I know you probably know a lot more about this team than I definitely do. So.
Correct. Okay. So the Falcons are 8.5 this season. That's probably around where they're gonna be. But the over is -110 and the under is also -110. So it's an even bet. So that tells you Vegas is kind of 8.5 is where they expect them to be no matter what. So they addressed the biggest need in the offseason was that offensive line. Matt Ryan had no chance to get the ball down to Julio Jones past 30 yards. He didn't have any time to throw. The offensive line was banged up. Jake Matthews had an awful season after a huge extension. Andy Levitre just retired. Thank God, he sucked. So that guy's out. You replace Chris Lindstrom, the #1 guard, Boston College, in the right side. Caleb McGeary, I believe was his name, tackle. You get him in the right side. That right side is fixed. Devontae Freeman is finally going to be healthy. We all know how good he is when he is healthy. They had a bunch of injuries last season. Grady Jarrett was hurt a little bit. Julio Jones had that toe. So did Devontae Freeman. Mohamed Sanu's coming back once again. Desmond Trufant's coming back. Robert Alford's finally gone. He was a guy that a lot of people question his effort. Also, Deion Jones, you're going to have a full season of Deion Jones. And Keanu Neal. He tore his Achilles last season. This is a guy that's going to start on day one. He's going to be back. He's one of the best hybrid safeties along with Tyrann Mathieu in the NFL. They're officially back. They had everything that went wrong, that could have went wrong for the Falcons last season. Offensive line, they didn't have the push up front. Now they finally got Grady Jarrett on a franchise tag. Hopefully they can keep him. But they addressed their biggest need with the offensive line. Keanu Neal's going to come back. Deion Jones get a full season. He had a foot problem, I believe, last season. Everyone's coming back for the Falcons. People don't realize how bad this team was because of all of the injuries. They're the most injury-plagued team last year. Also, another year of Calvin Ridley. Maybe he usurps Julio Jones as #1 wide receiver here in a couple years. But I'm buying high on the Falcons. Maybe 10 wins. I think they win the division this year.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is their offensive line. Because last year, you're exactly right. Matt Ryan was running for his life, and he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough time. Exactly, he didn't have enough time to even throw it down the field to the biggest deep threat in the league. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing for me. Offensive line's healthy, then you take the over.
Yeah. Another big part of that is once again the health is a huge part of it. But Devontae Freeman, I think, is going to be the best part. That's a guy that has some of the best elusiveness and explosion in the NFL.
And he'll take some of the pressure off of your quarterback.
Takes the pressure off of Matt Ryan. Tevin Coleman's gone now, and I know people love running back by committees because why wouldn't you want two great running backs? But at the same time, that also was a competitive thing to where he's kind of always got to look behind him and say, man, Tevin Coleman's right there. He might take my spot. Now, Tevin Coleman's finally gone. I think he went to San Francisco, I believe. You finally got everyone back. The defense is going to be healthy now. And once again, the Colts last season drafted offensive line pretty much the entire draft, puts them in the playoffs.
Exactly.
That it truly can just change the entire team. They got Quentin Nelson, Quentin Nelson, and they got Smith. Man, I cannot think of it. Braden Smith, right tackle. Take care of that side. Everything else is going to fall into place. Everyone's back healthy. I have no reason to believe the Falcons were going to repeat what they did last year. And if they do, Dan Quinn's gone. A lot of coaches on the hot seat this year.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the NBA. A lot of people not happy with the draft lottery, but I love it. Small markets winning in the end. Ha ha ha. Shut up, New York. I love it.
Apparently, everyone in the NBA is upset if things don't go right for the Los Angeles Lakers or the New York Knicks.
So, in case you guys have not heard, the NBA lottery just happened a few nights ago. Zion Williamson is the surefire #1 pick. Now, who is going to be that pick was the question. The New Orleans Pelicans lucked out and got the #1 pick, followed by the Memphis Grizzlies #2, New York Knicks #3, and Los Angeles Lakers at #4. So, that means people are pissed off.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. There's no other way to say it.
I absolutely love it because people such as Colin Cowherd. That's the only one I know of right now. Stephen A. Smith, he's a Knicks fan. They want to see big guys go to big markets. And you know what? So let's count, me and you, Austin. Let's count out the big markets in the NBA, shall we? So you got the Clippers and the Lakers, right? So you got two LA teams. You have the Chicago Bulls, big market, would you say?
Yeah.
Chicago Bulls, third biggest city in America. Let's go with Miami. I would
say Miami.
Miami's probably a big one.
New York Knicks.
New York Knicks.
Boston might be the sixth.
Boston. And you could, on the border, I think you could probably throw Dallas in there. But that's a lot. I think
because it's just the biggest, state in the nation. So yeah.
So that's seven teams. Now, how many others are there? That's 23. So the chances are you're not going to go to a big market team because there's 23 small market teams. I think that's hilarious, by the way.
That New Orleans is a small market.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a small town in the USA?
Because New Orleans is not one of those.
Do you truly believe that Indianapolis is a small town? Do you truly believe that Kansas City is a small place? Memphis, Tennessee? Oh, what a small podunk town that is.
It's not.
Are you kidding me? Okay. That's neither here nor there. There's 27 small market teams in the NBA. And Zion Williamson is more than likely going to the New Orleans Pelicans at the number 1 pick. So here's the first question I'm going to ask you, Austin. Should he, and this has been rumored, it's been squashed just as today from Zion, but I still want to ask you anyways. Should he go back to the Duke Blue Devils?
No. That's got to be just the dumbest question, dumbest rumor. This guy, you and I said, this guy is going to potentially make more money than any rookie maybe ever. Just based on potentially his jersey sales. I mean, are you kidding me? Everyone in New Orleans is going to buy his jersey, maybe right now. Because New Orleans is going to make so much money off this guy. He's going to make so much money. If he goes back to Duke, for one, he already got hurt there. Two, he's not making any money. He is a sure number 1. The reason everyone was so intense to this lottery is because everyone knew how valuable this rookie was going to be.
Number 1 pick, yeah, exactly.
The most obvious number 1 since maybe LeBron, where you're like, this guy's going to impact our city, not just our franchise, our city immediately.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a no-brainer he's got to go. It's a no-brainer.
Okay, so let me play out a situation for you. Because the people saying, like Colin Cowherd, that he should either go back to Duke or refuse to play for the Pelicans. So let's do this. Goes back to Duke and or sits out a season and or plays overseas. Fantastic. Enters the draft once again. Do you realize? So once again, 23 teams are small market. Do you truly believe that toward the beginning of that draft that you're going to go to one of the 8 teams that you want to go to? And then we're not saying that Zion wants to go to these big markets. We're speaking for people that are speaking for him. That he wants to go to some of these big markets. It's a draft lottery. You're
lucky to not be going to Phoenix.
Exactly. So you go back to school, you come back, enter the draft. Guess what? You're going to Cleveland now. Who wants to go to Cleveland over New Orleans? Are you kidding me? Oh, no, now you're going to the Pacers. Oh, no. Now you're going to Phoenix. Oh, no, Sacramento.
Now you're going to Utah. It's like, come on.
You're playing a dangerous game doing that. Plus, you're passing on $30 million you could get in his rookie deal right now. So that's idiotic time. That's just stupid. There's no way he should be doing that. So Zion should go to New Orleans. I just think it's funny that people don't think so. People are mad that the NBA didn't rig it for the LA Lakers and for the New York Knicks. And once again, let me point this out. People say since Zion Williamson has been born, I heard this today. The New York Knicks have won 1 playoff series. The New Orleans Pelicans have won 2 playoff series. Now people complain to say, "Oh, but the Pelicans suck." So do the Knicks.
The Knicks are way worse.
Worst franchise in the NBA. The Lakers suck just as bad as the Knicks do right now. They both suck. That's why they're at the draft. That's why they're at the beginning of the draft.
That's why they're in the top 5 of the draft, because they're both bad.
Because that's the team that freaking needs them the most right now, because they suck.
That's how it works. Believe it or not, the worst teams in the NBA get the best players in the draft. Shocker that the Golden State Warriors don't get the #1 pick. Wow. Isn't that mind-blowing? Come on, dude.
Peyton Manning said it best. He said, if you go #1 overall, you go to a team that fully earned to get that #1 overall pick. And that's exactly what you're getting.
They need that #1 overall pick.
If they're in the lottery, they most likely did not make the playoffs. So you're going to a bad team no matter what. So might as well go to a team that you can be the guy. And, the Knicks, you could be the guy. But you know what? Don't throw a hissy fit because you can get drafted by a big city. And that New Orleans is a small city. It's very funny to me. Okay, we're going to keep going with this because there's a lot of options that the Pelicans, Knicks, Lakers, maybe even Grizzlies could have with this #1 overall pick, trade packages. So one that's been tossed around a lot is RJ and Zion playing together in New Orleans, trading Anthony Davis to the Knicks, getting that 3rd pick, considering with the understanding that John Morant's going to go #2 overall to the Grizzlies.
Yeah. There's
just a lot of stuff. So, Austin, I want to ask you, what do you think is probably the best plan for the Pelicans for their future? Considering the AD still said that he still wants out no matter what, that he's officially done with the franchise, that he wants to move on.
The Pelicans really hold all the cards in the entire league, free agency-wise.
Yeah, he holds everything.
It's all in their number. This lottery has given them all the power in the league.
Yes.
Because obviously, every NBA team would love to have Anthony Davis. He's an all-star. He's a superstar. He's one of the best top 10 players in the league. You want Anthony Davis on your team. And obviously, the Pelicans, how can they turn down Zion at #1?
Yeah.
So it becomes really interesting. What I think the best move is, I think they could still try and abuse the Lakers like they tried to once already. I really think they could try and say, give us pretty much everything. We'll give you Anthony Davis. Give up some picks. I don't even know, honestly. And you said it even before we came on here, that what could honestly happen is they trade Anthony Davis to Utah and get some picks for, I don't even know, just trade him somewhere and just keep Zion as the #1 pick and build around Zion. Yeah. So I don't even know, honestly.
I think the best possible scenario. So it's very tough to equate the value in a trade for an Anthony Davis-like player because you want a superstar in return. But if you're trading Anthony Davis to a team, they're not going to give, and they have a superstar, they're not going to give you that superstar because they're already a successful franchise and they're winning. And that's why they want to add him to win a championship. So they're not going to mess that up by giving you one of their superstars.
Exactly.
So it's very tough to really get value back. But I think the only team that I can really think of that has quite the value is Boston. Give Anthony Davis, I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, maybe one of the two.
I think for Boston, those are the two guys you have to build around.
I agree. I think Jason Tatum is vastly overrated, personally. He got worse this season. People don't want to say it. He got worse this season. Sophomore slumps, once again, they're very true. Happen a lot. Plus, that team just did not like to play with each other, it seemed like. Yeah. I wouldn't be upset with a Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier if he signs back with the Celtics. I believe he's a free agent. And give me 1 or 2 first-round picks. I think that's probably the best deal you're going to get. I think, you could do sign-in trades. You have D'Angelo Russell in Brooklyn. I don't think they're in a position to be giving him up, though. Who else are you going to go to? I don't think the Lakers are going to have enough to really give him away.
True, because honestly, when you looked at the Lakers this year, and especially with all the things that have come out about Brandon Ingram, is Kyle Kuzma really a guy? I mean, he's good, but I don't think he's as good as Jason Tatum.
Yeah, is that guy with a ceiling that you say, okay, well, this is a franchise guy that's going to sell tickets. I don't see that. It's very hard to find value in the right spot. So you go to every NBA team like Charlotte. Well, Kemba Walker's a free agent now. You go to Minnesota. Well, you don't want either really of those guys. They're kind of damaged goods right now because a lot of people don't want to play with those guys. It's so tough. So I think Boston's probably the only chance. But then again, does Boston just want to get rid of all the superstars and say we're better without our superstars, as in Kyrie Irving? We were a better team with everyone together. That's what we're going to keep. Then it's just, I don't know, man. It's just tough to find a good spot for Anthony Davis to where you can feel good about a return. I just don't know if there's a place right now. But I think taking Zion number one is the only option. I don't think they can trade that pick.
No.
No.
He's too valuable in all aspects.
Yeah. Sticking with the lottery, so the new rule was in effect this year. I think it was fascinating. I think it made the lottery so much more fun to watch.
It's got to be one of the craziest lotteries we've ever seen.
Because New Orleans and Memphis should not have gotten any close to the number one and number two. They were not nearly. They did not have the odds. So if you guys don't know the rule, the team with the best odds was automatically given a 25% chance. That is now reduced to 14% chance. Now they had three teams. It was the Knicks, it was the Suns, and the Bulls, maybe.
Probably.
I think it might have been the Bulls. Both of those teams, or all three of those teams, had 14% chance. And the Pelicans get number one. Grizzlies, Knicks, Lakers. It is absolutely crazy. So, but does that mean, very interesting topic, tanking in the NBA has been an issue. There's been a lot of teams that are either rebuilding or you're winning a title. There's not really any middle class in the NBA anymore. Does this end tanking?
I asked you this question immediately after the lottery.
Yeah.
Because it was brought up because so many Knicks fans were upset because they were like, I thought our whole goal of this entire regular season was for us to get the number one pick. Yeah. And they couldn't even do it. So I don't know if it necessarily ends tanking because I think teams are going to potentially fight harder to potentially still get that 14% because that's still enough that you're like, we still need that to even still have a shot. We can't just hope to get lucky like New Orleans, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting now because I think fans are going to be more upset than anything because if they're like, oh, well, we're tanking to get the number one pick, it's like, well, yeah, but the Knicks tried that and it still didn't work. Yeah. So I think fans are going to be upset by teams who are tanking. Say, oh, well, we're going to get the number one pick. Are you sure, though? Like, you have to be sure that you are if you're just going to say, oh, well, forget the season. We're just getting Zion. And then you don't. Then that's like, well, this whole season was a waste.
Yeah. I actually think it somewhat helps tanking. Now, when I say that, I think it's going to elevate teams a little more to where we don't have to be horrifically bad, but we also can't be good either. Now, that tells me that there are the teams like the Miami Heat or the Orlando Magic that says, we could just be 5 to 10 games, maybe just even 5 games worse, miss the playoffs, and still get a number one pick. Because now, if we miss the playoffs,
anyone has a chance, really, from what we saw.
Right. No matter what our record is, if we miss the playoffs, there's still a pretty good chance that we get a top 5 pick. That's absolutely crazy. So the fact is, there's going to be more teams. It's not going to be who can be the worst. It's about, can you miss the playoffs? Because if you can miss the playoffs, like
you don't need to be as bad as the Knicks and say, oh, well, we need to lose 40-some games.
Right. You just have to say, you know what?
We can be the 10 seed in the East. That's perfect.
Maybe I don't start my guys a couple games here and there, and then we lose those games. Whoops. Get the number one pick.
Because New Orleans, they lost some game to Phoenix where they had like a 98% chance to win. Yeah. And they lost, and that was the inevitable game that put them to like the 0.6% chance higher in the draft lottery than they would have had. Yeah. And look what happened in that little one game bit that helped them get the number one pick.
Yeah, so I think you're going to have more teams that are in because it's so hard to make a title contender in a super team era of the NBA where you have to have 3 or 4 All-Stars to compete with guys. So if you're in purgatory, which is Miami Heat, is the epitome of purgatory right now. You have a bunch of B minus C plus players, and you're good enough just to almost get to the playoffs, but you're not good enough to get any picks that are worth a damn. So you're really just stuck there. So now it's gonna motivate teams like Miami Heat that says, "Hey, man, maybe we don't start Goran Dragic every game. We just win. We just lose 5 to 10 more games.
We're the 10 seed in the East.
Yeah, and we're the top 5 pick. We have a better chance of doing that. So I think it's going to actually even elevate that because you're going to see more teams. This will completely eliminate the middle class. I don't think there's going to be any middle class anymore. You're not going to see the Miami Heat. You're not going to see an Orlando Magic. You're going to see teams that are going to lose more games because they have a better chance. Because if they're hovering around 500, you might as well hover a little bit below so you have a chance of getting a good pick.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's an interesting question I've been seeing. I saw on the Dan Patrick show today. Should the NFL impose an NFL draft lottery? What do you think about that?
That'd be crazy.
It would be crazy. But do you think it's a good idea?
I don't know.
I don't think so because the thing that's great about the NFL is there's 32 teams. There's literally a very interesting storyline in every single team, even the worst teams in the NFL. The Cardinals get the number 1 overall pick. Now you have a new coach, Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray. That's going to be fun to watch, even though they're probably not going to be that great. The NBA does not have that. No one's watching a Phoenix Suns Orlando Magic game on a Tuesday night. But you're watching Cardinals versus San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football. Because the draft allows that. You get the best player in the draft, the quarterback that you want, interesting storyline. There's parity. People love to watch it. I think giving the teams that are worse in order, I think it's probably the way to go for the NFL.
Because, or else some of those teams would just be bad for years.
Forever. Right.
Then they would just lose money and then they would lose potential ratings because some of those Arizona Cardinals teams would never regain any excitement from their season last year because it's like, oh, well, we didn't even get the best player in this draft. So, oh well. Let's just be bad again, and maybe we can get the number 1 pick next year.
And it's also tough to impose because the NFL is about 500 times more valuable than the NBA is. The NFL is king in America. Do not get that confused. The NFL is top dog.
Oh, yeah.
So it's tougher to impose a seismic change like that in the NFL without a pretty big uproar.
True.
So I don't think it'll ever happen. It's fun TV. But for the purpose of the sport, I don't like it. Okay, moving on to our top 5 list. We're so excited.
Yes.
We're not talking about sports. We have 2 non-sports.
What thing we're experts on?
What thing we're experts on? They're both movies. So number 1, we're doing top 5 Marvel movies. And then number 2, because I watched the worst movie of my life, I'll get to what it is. Top 5 worst movies we've ever seen. It's going to be a fun ride for you guys. Strap in. Okay, top 5 Marvel movies. Austin McNorton, you go first.
All right, so I'll go from 5 to 1.
Correct.
And these are favorites again, not best, not
we're not critics
selling. Yes, this is best.
Yeah.
Favorites for us. So number 5, I have Thor Ragnarok, which is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's Thor number 3. I wasn't sure about it because the first 2 Thor movies were kind of slow. They weren't exciting to me, but Ragnarok was just such a degree of difference and just honestly, it's a comedy. It's so funny, yet it has all the superhero action and fighting that you love. I love it. I think the dynamic between Thor and his brother are so great in this movie. I love it. And then 4, I have another Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is Infinity War. I come to realize I kind of like movies that go away from the basic, like, oh, well, we're happy and then something goes wrong and then we come together and we win. This is a movie that doesn't follow that at all. This is a movie that follows the villain absolutely dominating and ended up winning. Absolutely winning. There's no other way to say it. I like the same thing for if you've ever seen Star Wars Episode 3. That's my favorite Star Wars movie because the villain wins. And this is the same for Infinity War. The villain wins this movie, and there's no other way you can say it. And it's just that movie. I saw it in theaters was just such a roller coaster of emotions.
It was. I loved it.
It's amazing. You get so hype, and then you just so like, oh my god, what happened? And then
that was also like the first movie that we could comprehend seeing Star Wars in a theater, like because of our age. That's when it came out.
Exactly.
We finally saw it in the theater. I remember the big screen. I saw it in the big theater. I loved it. Sir.
Yeah. Absolutely. Number 3. I'm a huge Spider-Man guy. I'll be honest, I am.
I love it.
I think this is potentially one of the best Spider-Man movies ever. Spider-Man Homecoming with Tom Holland. I think it's so much different than all the other Spider-Man movies we've been used to because in all the comics and everything, if you like Spider-Man is supposed to be young and doesn't know what he's doing, and he's trying to figure it out while he's doing it. He isn't just an automatic monster and is unbeatable when he becomes Spider-Man. He has to like learn and he fails. And this movie is perfect for that. Tony Stark's like, no, you're not ready. So stop trying to be. And I love the dynamic between those two. Yeah. I also think Michael Keaton was a really good villain in this movie. He's pretty intimidating, which I liked. Yeah. Number 2, Civil War. It's Captain America, but really it's pretty much an Avengers like 2.5.
It's like an OG Avengers 1, if I can call it. It's the original Avengers, not like the entire universe, the original Avengers like debacle.
Exactly. I like it because the story is really good about how they come into conflict with each other. And I think it has one of the greatest scenes with all of them fighting each other in the airport.
Yeah.
It's my favorite MCU movie. That's why it's number 2 on my list. I loved every second of it. Yeah. And then number 1, this is more of just nostalgic for me. It was actually on TV the other day, and I was watching it, and I can still pretty much quote this entire movie. So for all you viewers out there, if you ever hear or you see on TV or you have experienced this yourself, there's a movie on that you have had on in your childhood that's on an endless loop that you just keep replaying, restarting. Your parents just leave it on for you. This was the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. I could probably seriously quote this entire movie. This is hilarious, but I would put on my Spider-Man costume and I would act out the scenes with my little brother, and we would play out this whole movie together because I could literally quote it probably still all to this day because I've seen it.
Please tell me you didn't reenact the scene where he's hanging upside down.
This is unfortunate. You know how I did that? I did that with Maddie Higley. I reenacted that scene with Maddie Higley.
Wow.
Yeah. What a time.
Airing out the dirty laundry on air. I like it.
Dude, that's just more of a nostalgic. That movie was my entire childhood growing up. So it's got to be one for me, Marvel movie wise.
I absolutely love your list. 1 through 5 is just a bunch of powerhouses. I love it. For me, I slipped in number 5. It's going to take me a while because I have a lot of explanations for what.
Hey, I had a lot of explanations too. Yeah. I love it. I love the explanations.
So number 5 is Venom for me. A lot of people told me that they didn't enjoy this one because it's kind of its own separate universe. But as a movie, as a Marvel movie, I loved it because I think it has the best performance by an actor in Marvel history.
I've heard that. I have heard that. I haven't seen this movie, so I'll take your judgment for it. I didn't see it because, again, I'm a Spider-Man guy, and I thought it would tie into Spider-Man, and I heard that it didn't, so I was like, okay.
Right.
I heard that Tom Holland was or not Tom Holland, Tom Hardy, incredible.
He's phenomenal. The biggest thing for me is it goes back to really what the comic book was, which is Venom is its own entity, and he just fills other people's bodies. What it made in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire was more like it fills this guy's body, and now this person is now evil. That's not what it's like in Venom. Tom Hardy is always a good guy. He literally has this thing inside of him that just kills people and controls him 100%. He has no authority over what's going on. He does not want to be a part of it. He has a phenomenal performance. The villain in that one was kind of okay. Toward the end, it kind of got rushed a little bit. But I think with the performance, they kind of turned Venom into exactly what he was supposed to be. Okay. That's what I loved about it, because Venom in Spider-Man 3 kind of freaking blowed.
Yeah.
So the Venom in this one was a stronger guy. He's supposed to be bigger than he was in Spider-Man 3. So he's a bigger, more menacing anti-villain to where he kills people and he's totally fine with it. And he takes over Tom Holland's body and he has nothing to do with it. That's really what Venom is. It's a disease, a virus, an entity that takes people over, not something that people just want to kill people once they get Venom in them. It's not like that at all. So Venom, I think, was a very underrated movie at number 5. It's also kind of separated in isolation from the rest of these. Number 4, you said it best yourself. Spider-Man Homecoming. Second best performance by an actor. Tom Holland as Peter Parker. He's officially what the comic book was originally supposed to be.
Yes. Yes.
A kid that is absolutely clueless and helpless, that is just thrust into the spotlight with this power. Got bitten by this spider. He's officially he has to fashion his own web shooters. He's officially just a superhero, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And he plays that role perfectly.
Exactly.
He's a kid that is supposed to be unpopular. He's not supposed to be like Andrew Garfield. He's just a hipster. I'm just a good-looking guy, has a hot girlfriend the entire time. Does I have a skateboard.
He's unpopular. No one sits with him at lunch. Exactly.
No, he's an unpopular kid in high school. That's what it's supposed to be. Tom Holland plays that role perfectly. And I think as an entertaining movie, this is probably the most entertaining movie, I believe. I loved Homecoming, every second of it. Number 3, once again, we have a lot of repeats on this list. Civil War. Now, people don't realize Infinity War and Endgame cannot exist without Civil War. Civil War is the most crucial part to the Marvel Universe. It has to happen, or else nothing else. Everything ends right then and there with Civil War, because you move on to Infinity War, which I'm transitioning to as number 2. So in the beginning of Infinity War, the reason they can't stop Thanos is because literally everyone's in a separate location. So they can't protect all of the stones. Yep. Everyone's split up, and not by choice. Because at the end of Ragnarok, Thor's with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not on speaking terms when it comes to Iron Man and Captain America. So he's allowed to get all the Infinity Stones, snaps his fingers. Next thing you know, you're in Endgame. All because of Civil War. All because these guys started.
Because they're all in different spots. They're not all together fighting against him.
Exactly. They're not one cohesive, good fighting unit against Thanos, because they are split because of Iron Man, Superman, and Civil War. Most crucial part, cannot argue it. I think it has to be the number 1 most crucial movie. And then number 2, Infinity War. If you're talking about storyline, that's as good as it gets. You have just about 5 or 6 different storylines, guys trying to keep stones, keep them away from Thanos. You have so much suspense with Spider-Man almost ripping off the gauntlet, and then Star-Lord just screwing everyone over by hitting him in the face. Like that's going to do anything. And then once again, it's really good to go away from what's popular. They don't win. They fail. They fail. They lose. Yep. It's really entertaining to watch, because then that sets up suspense for the next movie. Like, oh, it can't end like that.
Exactly.
Half of them just died. It can't end like that. So it truly incredible movie. And then number 1, by far my personal favorite superhero, or anti-hero as he's called, Logan. Now, if you guys don't know, Logan is Wolverine. It is the last Hugh Jackman movie. I think I could spoil it for you guys. It's been out for a few years now. He does die in the end. The metal officially poisons his entire body that he is injected with. The bullets that he's been shot with have been poisoning his body this entire time. And he officially dies. His last movie is very sad stuff. But if we're talking about a movie, good, like a true great film, Logan is the best film Marvel has ever made. If we're talking about critics, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe not our favorite movie. It's my favorite movie, but we're talking about quality of the film. That's Logan, hands down, number one. It's considered one of the greatest movies ever written. So Logan, number one, my favorite superhero. Hugh Jackman, of all of the superheroes ever, he has fitted the role best for Wolverine. He is a guy that has been the epitome of Wolverine. He's played exactly what the guy was supposed to be from the comics for several years now. No better role than Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So that's my top 5. Took me a while, but I mean those are just worth it. Now, some movies that we're gonna try and just comb over. We don't want to remember.
We're gonna try to forget about.
We're gonna try to forget about these movies. Austin, you go ahead.
So these are top 5 worst movies. This was number 5 for me. Was a movie I saw recently. I'm a huge Adam Sandler guy, obviously. Happy Gilmore is my all-time favorite, number 1. But this was a miss for Adam Sandler, in my opinion. Little Nicky is the name of it. It's where Adam Sandler is the son of Satan, and he goes to Earth and tries to stop his other brothers who are also sons of Satan from controlling the world. And it's weird because he talks in this really weird, annoying voice. Adam Sandler does.
Like a kid.
He's kind of a creep, and I don't understand it at all. Have you seen it?
I have not seen all of it, but I've seen snips of it.
Oh, it's brutal.
And you know what? I have to give you all the credit to fire shots at one of our favorite actors.
I love the guy, but I don't understand the logic of this movie at all.
Adam Sandler is one of those guys where he has some huge hits and some pretty big misses too.
This was a miss.
Yeah.
Number 4 is a movie that I didn't think needed to be made. I thought it was just a money-grabbing movie. I didn't think it was needed at all. Shrek 4. The story ended at 3. He has his family. He's living back in his swamp. Great, end it. But then it goes in this thing where he meets Rumpelstiltskin and goes back in time and he doesn't know his family. It's not needed. It's just money. Let's see how else we can add on to the story. It's not needed. I didn't think it was very good. Number 3, I do not understand why these movies even exist. So I put all of them. The Medea movies with Tyler Perry, correct?
Yeah.
I saw the first one and I didn't enjoy it, but now he's made 12 more. I don't know how. Maybe I'm just not the right audience for it. But I like Big Mama's House with Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
I just do not like these movies because it's similar but worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Also, number 2, this might be a hot take because it's one of the most quoted movies of all time. But I'm probably not the right audience for it, but The Princess Bride. Maddie actually made me watch that movie because I'd never seen it, but I knew it was one of the most quoted movies of all time. It's okay, but I didn't enjoy it very much. And then number 1, gotta be just one of the funniest people that ever walked this earth, in Eddie Murphy. But this is the worst movie I've ever seen. I saw it in theaters, actually. Norbit. It's where he's this nerd who's dating this
part of the movie.
Obese woman that he also plays in the movie, and it's terrible. It's just terrible.
He plays every role in that movie.
Oh, I don't get he's trying to he's with this big woman, but then he's trying to leave her. It's not good. It's not good.
It's something to forget.
All those movies don't watch. I mean, The Princess Bride maybe because it's it's a classic, but
I've heard of it. I don't even know what that's about. Princess Bride. I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's about. So I'm not going to touch it.
Tell you. So.
Yeah. Okay, number 5. I cheated. I put really 6 on here. Because one, I really want to rip. I'm going to rip both of these because these are maybe not the worst movies ever made, but these are movies that just fooled you. Now, For the Love of the Game is a movie about Kevin Costner. He pitched a perfect game for the Detroit Tigers, and it's supposed to be about baseball, and it's a freaking love story. It's a love story that's covered up by baseball, a perfect game. Literally, the entire movie is about him and his girlfriend, wife. I don't care what it was. It's a baseball movie that's just hidden in a love story, and I hate it. I hated that. It made me so mad when I watched it. Kevin Costner does this to me all the time, and I'm done with him. Number 5, also Pearl Harbor. Also, the exact same freaking problem that happened with For the Love of the Game. Pearl Harbor is one of the most iconic, awful, tragic, historic events on Earth.
Oh, in this entire country's history.
Pearl Harbor is the turning point of this country when it comes to World War II, which, I don't know, might be the most historic war of all time. But it's a love story that's 3 hours long. 30 to 45 minutes of it is about Pearl Harbor. It's unacceptable that someone allowed Michael Bay to do this to Pearl Harbor. He made Pearl Harbor worse than what actually happened at Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
That's how bad this movie is.
Harsh.
Everyone knows it. It's regarded as one of the worst movies ever even thought of. So if someone can actually do a realistic documentary or an actual movie on Pearl Harbor without putting a freaking love story in it, I will watch it and I will be happy about it and I will forget this movie ever existed. Number 4, The Box. Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
Obviously don't. So it's about this guy, old guy, very mysterious guy, comes to these people's houses, has a box with a button on it, opens the box and says, you can push this button, you will get $1 million. But if you push this button, someone in this world, whether you know them or not, will die. So they end up pushing the button. And good Lord, what happens after that? It becomes a sci-fi alien movie.
Oh, no.
Straight up. Sci-fi, portals, time warp.
Sharknado movie?
It's insane how out of hand that movie gets. It's impossible to watch. It has Cameron Diaz in it. Is impossible to watch over again. Don't do it. Number 2, or excuse me, that was number 4. Number 3, I have Open Water. Now this kind of sucks because this is also a true story about 2 people who get stuck out in the middle of the ocean off a scuba diving trip and they get eaten by sharks. But the thing is though, I just described the entire movie and it took me less than 5 seconds. That kind of tells you there's not a whole lot going on in between getting lost and then getting eaten by the sharks. It's an hour and a half. I think it's an hour and a half to 2 hours long. What I mean, do you see the problem? I mean,
what's really happening here?
So the first little bit, there's a little bit missing. So the first little bit, you get lost, right? Then you get eaten by the sharks over here. What's in between here?
A lot of nothing.
Float in the ocean. It's don't watch it. Okay, number 2, I have a movie, and this one might be not that bad, but I anticipated it to be so good. I went and saw it in theaters. I was very happy for it. I love murder mysteries. The Snowman. Good Lord, did I just absolutely hate this film. It was so bad.
I've never heard of it.
It was kind of a low-key sort of movie coming into theaters. It was a murder mystery. It looked really good. The previews made it look really good. It's not really that famous, but it's a murder mystery that I literally guessed the killer in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It's a murder mystery that has no implications for any suspects. It's a murder mystery that bounces around from like 3 different storylines that one of them matters. And that's it. One of them matters. The other 2 do not matter. Don't even factor into the story. There's no implications for any suspects except for the guy that I thought was the killer. Turned out to be the killer within the first 10 minutes.
Jeez.
I would never watch it again. Number 1, and the reason we made this list, because I watched this movie 2 days ago. And I love both of these guys individually and together. They made one of the greatest comedies of all time in Step Brothers. Sherlock and Watson. Now, I actually don't know if I can really judge this movie because I didn't watch all of it. Because I couldn't physically watch all of it. I would rather jump out of a plane with no parachute than watch this movie one more time. It is that horrendous. So I watched about 34. I watched about probably 45, close to 45 minutes of it. So both these guys have very strong British accents. It is a movie that has no downtime, as in it is go, 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 go. These guys are yelling, they're screaming, they're literally shooting guns. No one knows why. They're shooting just guns everywhere. A mess. It is an absolute mess. Could not get through it. It is stupid. It is so bad. And I love Will Ferrell and I love John C. Riley. It's John C. Riley. But good Lord, did this movie not have to be made at all?
Well, that's a bummer.
Do not. I'm telling you, man. This is gonna be like one of those challenges. Like, can you get through the whole movie? Like, it's a challenge. It's how bad that movie is. I think it's like by far number one.
Jeez. Wow. I would never have anticipated that either. That's kind of a bummer.
I've never not finished a movie I started. Not once in my life. I stopped watching that movie. 45 minutes. And you know, I love comedies, obviously. We both do.
Yeah.
We both love Will Ferrell. I could not make it through. I couldn't do it.
Jeez, man.
That's
tough.
It's just tough. It's just, you know what? Here's something I just thought of the other day. So if you guys don't know this about us, like two of our favorite movies are Wedding Crashers and The Internship, which both feature Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. I was just thinking about this. I think we are a lot like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. Man. You are the tall guy, the tall goofy guy, and I'm the blonde hair, shorter guy like Owen Wilson. I think we act just like.
Oh my God, I love those movies so much.
I feel like that's why we love both.
I mean, we're on a Skype call. I mean, what?
Skype call. What? Oh my, you guys. You guys have not seen that movie. You have to see. Next thing you know, we're sitting in a blender and we're saving lives. What? What? Thank you. You brought us to this. We're quoting the movie.
What a journey.
Was the big bad quail gonna get us? Both legendary movies. I love both of them. I think that's why we both love those just that much. We relate exactly to them.
That's great.
We are Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. Pretty much.
I like that.
Okay, and here's a kind of a new, I wouldn't call it segment. So on our social media, we're gonna start every episode is gonna be a Twitter poll question of the day. This one I think has been kind of going around for me in my head recently. Who is your favorite sports personality? Now that can be an analyst, that can be even a writer, that could be a play-by-play, a color commentator. For me, it's Dan Patrick. So on Twitter, I'm just gonna throw out the popular ones like Dan Patrick, Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, Bob Costas, even maybe Al Michaels. I'll throw out a couple out there. So you guys go to Twitter, vote for you want for, and comment if you have someone else that we have not listed. So favorite sports personality, and I know us is going to be first. Disregard us, so you're gonna have to vote for someone else this time. We're very sorry about that. Okay, moving on to our very last segment. Fortunately, we have to end the show. We're probably going over on time. I feel like we've been here for about 3 hours. Yeah, we're already an hour and 15 in. That's
the
okay.
Movies. I don't even care.
The movies took the most time. I'm telling you.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah, that's okay with me. We're on the internet. We don't have any limits. So, pump the brakes. We have 4 for you guys today. Number 1, pump the brakes. The boos for Bryce Harper in Philadelphia are fair.
I think they're probably fair. I don't think I would necessarily pump the brakes. I mean, this is a guy you signed for a pretty substantial amount of time for a pretty substantial amount of money. So you want him to make your team quite a bit better. And he's really not. He's not really adding anything spectacular to the Phillies other than just a face, a name, and butts and seats. So I think the boos are fair. I mean, you expect more out of him, and he's not giving it to you.
From now on, I've been thinking about this. I will now refer to the Bryce Harper contract as the marketing scam. So the marketing scam contract of Bryce Harper was just to put asses in seats. That was pretty much the only reason they signed him for that amount of money. Obviously, his stats have never backed up the amount of money he's getting. Not even close. Not even half of what he should be getting.
So far.
So So yeah, yeah, they're fair. You got to play up to that contract. He's pressing, and that's something in baseball that does not work. Pressing does not get you out of slumps. So maybe he's a second half player anyhow. We're gonna have to wait for that second half, but I think they're fair, especially Phillies fans. What do you expect?
Exactly. You're gonna get that regardless.
Exactly. Okay, number 2. With Ja Morant possibly going number 2 overall to the Memphis Grizzlies, Michael Conley, his time is up in Memphis.
This might be kind of sad, but I think it might be true.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't pass up on a guy like Ja Morant for one, and two, he's could be kind of similar to Mike Conley, but younger. So, I mean, Mike Conley's been your guy for so long, but it might be time to say it's time to restart, and this is a younger guy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he's been that guy there forever, it seems like.
I know. I understand that thought process, but just because you rebuild doesn't exactly mean you have to start from scratch. Now, I don't know if you can take Ja Morant and keep Mike Conley at the same time, but I really like Mike Conley. I think that's
Who doesn't, honestly.
I think that's a guy that can win you a finals as a point guard. Obviously, they're not nearly the position to do so, but that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth when Mike Conley's not playing for Memphis. I think that's a guy that has to stay with the Grizzlies. He feels exactly what they are.
Yeah.
I hope he stays in Memphis, and I hope they I don't know. You have to take Ja Morant number 2, though, right? I mean, maybe R.J. Barrett.
You have to.
And number 2, I don't know. Maybe swap with New York. They take R.J. or they take Ja Morant number 2. You take R.J. Get a couple picks or something like that. I want Mike Conley to stay in Memphis. If not, come to Atlanta. Even though Trae Young's here, I just love Mike Conley. Okay, number 3, Tampa Bay fans. This includes all sports: Lightning, Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Rays are the worst in sports.
You know more than I do.
Yeah.
Do you encounter many Tampa Bay fans where you're at?
No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, this is sort of the area where you'd get that, but it's not exactly. We're not exactly close enough for that to happen. It's usually, obviously, Braves fans or.
Okay.
I mean, the Braves are really the team of the South because if you think about it, you go through all these baseball teams, the Braves are, I mean, beside the Marlins and the Rays, are pretty much the only Southern MLB teams in this area of the country. So, I mean, I don't really see them, but the answer is yes.
I was going to say, from everything I've heard, I would assume it is.
And you know what? That's coming a lot from Atlanta, from an Atlanta guy, because Atlanta, they don't have a very good reputation either. So, where would you – this is embarrassing, man. Where would you think Tampa Bay would be in attendance with their current team, which is the best – maybe the best team in the AL right now? In attendance, like 1 through 30. Where would you anticipate, one of the best teams in the AL being?
I mean, considering they're one of the best, I think it'd be in the double digits, around 20, but I'm guessing it's definitely not.
Right. They are 29th.
Jeez.
So let me list off the other teams that are down there with them.
29th. Good
at
grief.
30. Okay. Well, oh man, let's talk about the Marlins after this. So you have 24th Detroit. So they average 16,000. Then you get Cleveland 16,000, Kansas City 16,000, Baltimore 15,000, Pittsburgh at 28, 15,000, Tampa Bay at 14,000 at 29. Then you have Miami at 30, at ranked 30, 9,000. But the thing is, though, is Tampa Bay is one of the best teams in the MLB. Miami is the worst team in the MLB, so they have reason not to show up for the game.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, you have no excuse. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. And you know what? I understand that Tampa Bay is one of the retirement cities of the world, just with Phoenix. That's inexcusable. You cannot be doing that.
You're not bad. Is it because their stadium? Because I've heard their stadium is just terrible.
It is, but this applies with the Lightning. This applies with the Buccaneers too. This is a franchise. This is a city that does not come out to support any of their franchises. It's quite frankly embarrassing.
Yeah.
Dick Vitale is a guy who lives in Tampa Bay. He has season tickets to the Tampa Bay Rays game. He's not part of the problem. He's a part of the solution.
Hey, there you go.
So I like that. But Tampa Bay fans, hold that. So, last one. Kawhi. Is he out of Toronto? They're down 0-1 this series. Do you think if they lose this series, he's out of Toronto?
I'm pumping the brakes because I think he likes Toronto a lot.
Yeah.
That's my reason. I think he's actually really enjoying himself a lot more than he thought he was going to.
Yeah,
I think
right
it's the perfect place for him to be.
It is literally San Antonio in Canada.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is that Toronto, if it was in America, third biggest city in America. It's bigger than Chicago. It would be LA, New York, or it'd be New York, LA, Toronto. But it's in Canada, so we don't recognize those guys up there. So it's like San Antonio. So I think he stays in Toronto. I think he loves it up there.
I think he loves it too, which no one would have guessed.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, very sad. Very sad stuff. We have to end the show, guys. Also, shout out to Austin's new background. I forgot to mention it.
Yeah.
Man, forgot to mention it. Just he's stepping up this game. He's bringing his A game.
K-State photos on the wall. Trying something else.
Austin's bringing his A game. I bring mine. The fans, we need you to bring yours. We need you to bring your A games. We need you guys to watch this video about 15 times a day. I mean, it takes up 15 hours of your day.
Go to Twitter, check out the new poll.
Go to Twitter, check out the new poll. There's going to be one out every single week. We're going to have a new question for you every single day, and it's going to be fantastic. We want to hear from you, the fans. I mean, we're a growing fan base. We just started this show on Meet Me Halfway. So answer the Twitter poll. We want to hear from you guys. But unfortunately, that is it for us here. Austin, say bye to the people.
Peace out.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. It's Meet Me Halfway. Austin McNorton, Jordan Griffith. You guys have a great day.